concerns over a proposed snitch line for health workers to the SHA. Saskatchewan beef producers are pleased with the Canada-China trade deal and helping those dealing with the extreme cold.
Live from our studios in Regina, this is CTV News.
Good evening. The Saskatchewan NDP is claiming the provincial government is proposing what they call a snitch line for healthcare workers to voice concerns about working conditions. Sierra D'Souza Butts tells us what the government of Saskatchewan says about the proposed service and its intentions for workers and patients.
The opposition says the government of Saskatchewan is failing to protect healthcare workers as it moves towards creating an internal anonymous reporting mechanism.
Why do we need an anonymous reporting mechanism? We have policies in place for when people are doing something they shouldn't in their workplace.
The NDP says the service will be used as a snitch line based on a request for proposals posted by the Saskatchewan Health Authority to find a contractor for the service.
While workers provide health care against all odds in overrun hospitals, this government and their loyal SHA leadership are making quiet plans to launch, and let's be very clear about what this is, a snitch line.
In the SHA's tender, the mechanism would give healthcare employees a place to voice concerns about internal working conditions, including reports of employees violating SHA policies, codes of conduct, or conflict of interest rules. The NDP says the proposal fails to address the safety and workplace concerns frontline workers deal with on a daily basis.
It would seem this proposal flies directly in the face of existing whistleblower protections, which exist to protect healthcare workers.
In a statement to CTV News, the SHA says the mechanism is meant for serious concerns such as fraud, conflicts of interest, or other wrongdoing, adding, anonymous reporting is a widely used best practice across Canadian health systems and major employers, and is intended to ensure staff have a safe reporting option to raise concerns without fear of reprisal. CTV News has reached out to the Ministry of Health, but did not hear back in time for broadcast. Sierra D'Souza Butts, CTV News, Regina.
Metal detectors are coming to more emergency departments in Regina and Saskatoon. The SHA says this marks the expansion of a pilot project at Saskatoon's Royal University Hospital and the Jim Pattison Children's Hospital. It's intended to increase hospital security, and the detectors were ordered back in December. Nurses and other healthcare workers previously called for the measure, as did the NDP, who say this is one piece of the solution.
So we've been very supportive of these calls for immediate steps to deal with safety issues, which are only getting worse. And then we've also called for this government to look and take action on the root causes of this, which are, of course, more systemic.
Conway added these pressures include growing social distress, ER strain, and a lack of other supports. The Saskatchewan Health Authority's president and the Minister of Health are expected to speak more about the detectors along with other hospital safety and security measures tomorrow. Residents of the James Smith Cree Nation are one step closer to having a new wellness center. The community held a sod-turning ceremony yesterday for the center, which will be major components of a wellness project that will provide mental wellness programs and services, as well as detox, residential treatment, and outpatient services. The wellness project was launched in response to the mass stabbing in the community in September of 2022 that left 11 people dead, 17 injured. Construction is expected to begin at the end of March. A 24-year-old man is facing weapons charges after an incident early this morning in Regina. Around 1:30, police received a report of an assault by a man walking down the street carrying a large bar in the area of 12th Avenue and Quebec Street. Police located the suspect and found he was carrying a knife and several live rounds of ammunition. The victim of the assault was treated for minor injuries. The 24-year-old man is facing 4 charges, including assault with a weapon and carrying a concealed weapon. He made his first court appearance this morning. A former Regina Rams player had his drug trafficking charges stayed. Michael Jordan was first charged following a drug bust operation early last year. The Crown says the decision to stay his charges stemmed from a provision requiring continuous assessing of dual criteria of a reasonable prospect of conviction and public interest in proceeding with the prosecution. Where either criteria is no longer met, a prosecution cannot continue, the Crown added. 4 others were also charged, including teammate Tarek Pulias. They still have their cases before the courts. Two Saskatchewan employers are facing charges under provincial legislation which aims to protect foreign workers. Vikram Singh is charged with 4 offences under the Foreign Worker Recruitment and Immigration Services Act. Some of the accusations include charging a fee for employment, threatening deportation without grounds, and breaching a foreign worker's trust or exploiting their fear. The province says the alleged offences happened at Taste of Battlefords between April and June of 2024 in North Battleford. Harinder Sachdeva is facing 6 offences under the Foreign Workers Recruitment and Immigration Services Act. Sachdeva is also accused of similar offences. The alleged offences took place at Rick's Place and Taste of Battlefords between April and July of 2024. Regina Fire Protection Services was busy with a house fire this afternoon in northwest Regina. Several crews were called to the 700 block of Dalglish Drive just before noon. Smoke was seen upon arrival. Crews did go in and extinguish the blaze. Now, no one was home, but 4 cats were rescued, and unfortunately, 5 other pets, 4 cats and a dog, did not survive. The inside of the house suffered significant damage. The cause of the fire is under investigation. Areas of southern Saskatchewan are currently dealing with blowing snow, which is impacting visibility in some areas. So this is how it looked near Chrono earlier today. A blowing snow advisory for the southeast corner of the province was declared, making the moderate winds and flurries a potential hazard, according to Environment and Climate Change Canada. The wind is expected to slow down tonight with a drop in temperature, which could halt any outdoor plans.
When you do head outside, that you dress warmly, dress in layers if possible. When you leave your skin exposed to the cold, you're at greater risk of frostbite. Any extended period of time outside during these periods of cold, you do put yourself at risk. So if you can, stay indoors or limit your time outside.
Today's wind speeds were far from the fastest we've seen so far, or the strongest so far in 2026, but they did impact driving speeds for some. The winds were bad, Sabine, but now we're going to be seeing some extreme cold. In fact, the weather behind you, the weather map, kind of looks like somebody melted candy corn all over southern Saskatchewan.
That is the perfect way of putting it, Lee. Yeah, we're trading in the high wind speeds to extreme cold temperatures. That's what happens when we see that low pressure clear out and a high pressure move in. And candy corn is the perfect way to describe what I've got going on here. Now, the yellow is indicating moderate warning, extreme cold warning. Environment and Climate Change Canada obviously has the color-coded alert system. So the yellow is a moderate warning. All of the orange is a high-level extreme cold warning, which covers more of a widespread area and is expected to last days, versus the yellow is just expected to have a shorter amount of duration, I should say. Temperatures today, actually, surprisingly, you wouldn't believe that we actually did have a warm-up of about -6. That was our high. And our low is what we're sitting at right now, -15. However, the wind chill is making it feel closer to -30. But I will have all the details on what we can expect with these extreme cold warnings coming up in your forecast. Lee?
All right, thanks, Sabine. Because of that, warming shelters across the province are going to be busy this week as those temperatures drop. Those experiencing homelessness trying to get away from the cold. Carmichael Outreach in Regina expects a 50% increase in the number of people that will visit their facility. Wayne Mantika has more.
Residents of this tent community on the edge of the downtown are chopping wood to keep the fire burning as temperatures drop.
Like you got Buddy here chopping our wood to keep us all warm, you know, and you all stick together. And
the camp is located next to Carmichael Outreach, which has been keeping its doors open around the clock this winter to those seeking protection from the cold.
Seeing a large number of people access their services to date, it's going to be 8,205 individuals who do utilize their services throughout the night. On average, it equates to about, I would say, 90 to 100 people.
Outside Carmichael's entrance, a woman is handing out toques and scarves.
So far, so good. It's really astounding and heartbreaking that people out here have to just struggle. Like, it's freezing.
Others are dropping off food to those huddled outside.
just leftovers, so it's just going to go into the garbage. So we thought we'd come in and share the wealth.
Supports aren't as readily available in other areas of the city. Some Ray Street residents are petitioning City Hall to have the lone male resident of this makeshift shelter relocated to proper housing. They say the fire that he is burning to stay warm poses a hazard to adjacent properties. Their spokesperson did not want to be identified.
I mean, I don't wish what he's going through on anybody. I hope the city can help him find housing. Unfortunately, that's between him and the city. I mean, they've got social services and they've got programs to help these people.
Places that provide shelter from the cold are expecting an influx of people as the temperature drops into the -30s later this week. It's a service that could prove life-saving for people who have nowhere else to go. Wayne Mantica, CTV News, Regina.
Well, it's not just canola farmers thrilled with the trade deal struck between Canada and China. Saskatchewan beef producers are happy that they can export their product to another country. Damian Smith has more.
After a 5-year pause, Canada will now export canola and beef to China once again.
Having China come on is great, and that equates to about $200 million worth of beef that we were last exporting to them.
Those in the Saskatchewan agriculture industry are happy to see the two countries reconnecting. According to Ross, before the agreement was put in place with China, 70% of beef exports were moved south to the United States. He says other notable importers of Canadian beef are Mexico, Japan, and South Korea. Adding, it's good news for Saskatchewan, which has the second highest number of calves in the country.
We are very good in the cow-calf industry of growing the calves. The feedlot industry is growing.
It is really is a major player and really kind of the backbone of the cow-calf herd in Canada.
Federal Agriculture Minister Heath MacDonald also says the federal government is discussing the details of the next policy framework, a 5-year agreement that would support Canadian agriculture from 2028 to 2033. Those in the industry chiming in at Canada's Productivity Initiative event being held in Saskatoon for agriculture, energy, and minerals.
The systems that have worked really well for Canadian agriculture for the last 20 years, open markets, reliable trade, innovation that's delivered results, can no longer be taken for granted.
Programs are important for our producers. Programs that help with risk management. Programs that help with technology.
According to McDonald, a Chinese importer has already ordered 60,000 tons of canola seed, and the first shipment of beef is expected to leave the country as early as next week. Damian Smith, CTV News, Regina.
The federal and provincial ministers of agriculture have announced support for livestock and forage-related research projects in Saskatchewan. Heath MacDonald and provincial ag minister David Merritt announced $4.5 million through the Agriculture Development Fund for 25 new projects, as well as $3.9 million to renew a multi-year partnership with the Prairie Swine Centre and Vito. Projects include developing new types of hybrid bromgrass for improved digestibility, improved grazing strategies for sustainable bison production, and developing earlier and more reliable testing for Janet's disease. University of Calgary School of Public Policy has been working to increase Canada's productivity, and today Saskatoon hosted a forum to learn more about how Saskatchewan resources can play a role. Hallie Mandrick tells us more.
With topics like trade wars, concerns about sovereignty of other nations, and more tariff threats from U.S. President Donald Trump here in Saskatchewan and across the country, many are discussing ways to become more productive and less reliant on the resources and partnership with the United States.
If you wait till you're sick or when you face a crisis like we face with the U.S., it's too late. So I think the things you have to do now lay the groundwork for future crises as well as getting us through this current crisis, which is to be as competitive as possible, build resilience, build the infrastructure we need, build the workforce we need so that we can survive the highs and the lows of the markets.
Hosted at the University of Saskatchewan, experts gathered to discuss agriculture, energy, minerals, and how those three resources can strengthen Canada's economy.
Saskatchewan's actually kind of an epicenter for a lot of the big trends in the global commodity markets here, so it's a great place to come and do this event.
The event is part of a larger initiative led by Calgary's School of Public Policy, intended to address the long-term declines in productivity, which were previously discussed discussed at Canada's Productivity Summit in 2025.
The biggest, most important source of long-term increases in our standard of living comes from our ability to make more goods and services for every hour that we work. And that's really what productivity is economically.
The event comes just a day after Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney spoke to the need for a change in foreign policy at the World Economic Forum.
The old order is not coming back. We shouldn't mourn it. Nostalgia is not a strategy. But we believe that from the fracture, we can build something bigger, better, stronger, more just.
The big takeaway from a lot of these events is that it's not a one-time conversation. It's that we need actionable, concrete policy ideas that can be implemented this year, next year, and many years beyond.
This session is the 5th of 6 events to be held across Canada, with the next session set to take place in Toronto with a focus on innovation and technology. Hallie Mandrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Saskatchewan Rough Riders are providing $60,000 for 2 initiatives supporting Indigenous students at the First Nations University of Canada. The money comes from the proceeds of merchandise sold with the Indigenous logo created by Chris Cheapak of the Red Pheasant First Nation. $40,000 will help Indigenous students who leave their home communities to attend the university, while $20,000 will go towards a scholarship rewarding incoming Indigenous students with high academic marks.
We have a lot of Saskatchewan Rough Rider fans at First Nations University of Canada, and I have been to the games and have seen our students, and they're wearing the t-shirts and the hoodies with the Indigenous logo, and so this is a partnership that makes sense.
This funding is a one-time commitment for now. After the break, U.S. President Donald Trump gives a message to our Prime Minister during his speech in Davos. And a judge reverses a decision to force TikTok to move their offices out of Canada. The Prime Minister was heading home when the U.S. President was calling him out at the Forum, chastising him today for yesterday's speech. Trump saying, "Remember that, Mark. Canada lives because of the United States." CTV's senior political correspondent Mike Couture on Trump's comments in response to Carney's speech.
I watched your Prime Minister yesterday. He wasn't so grateful.
The U.S. President with some tough talk for Prime Minister Mark Carney. It comes a day after the Canadian leader spoke in the same room at the World Economic Forum, criticizing superpowers that use tariffs as leverage.
But they should be grateful to us. Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
Donald Trump didn't say which statements, but Carney's speech urged middle power countries to act together.
When we only negotiate bilaterally with a hegemon, we negotiate from weakness.
Trump also said Canada gets a lot of freebies from the U.S., but it's unclear what he was talking about. Some Democrats say the comments about our country are unfair.
Canadians have followed us into every major conflict we've been in, whether we were right or wrong. This president has so disrespected them that they're now talking to China.
Carney wrapped up his trade trip to China and Qatar with a stop in Davos, but he didn't have anything to say about Trump's speech. In a statement, the Prime Minister's office told CTV News there are no plans to comment on the president's speech. The two leaders also didn't have any interaction while in Davos, which could be a good thing, according to this former special advisor on Canada-U.S. relations to then Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
Canada will be well served to have a more dedicated, specific conversation with the president or his team in the coming weeks and months, especially on the topic of CUSMA as we head towards a review deadline.
And there's little time to waste, as that deadline to decide what happens next with the trilateral trade agreement is July 1st. Mike Couture, CTV News, Ottawa. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has announced a framework for a deal on Greenland, saying the arrangement gets him everything he wants. Joy Malbin reports.
The U.S. president arrived by helicopter, appearing before business and world leaders, stepping up his demand to own Greenland.
So we want a piece of ice for world protection, and they won't give it.
The president falsely claimed the U.S. owned the island, defending it from the Nazis during the war. It's Danish territory, but Trump wants it back. And now he's backing off his threat to seize the Arctic island using U.S. military might.
We probably won't get anything unless I decide to use excessive strength and force where we would be, frankly, unstoppable. But I won't do that. Okay? Now everyone's saying, oh, good.
That hasn't stopped Donald Trump's Greenland ambitions, calling for immediate negotiations with NATO allies to annex the island. He threatened tariffs.
We have no interest in picking a fight, but we will hold our ground.
The European Union hit back, suspending ratification of a massive trade deal with the United States. But after discussions with NATO Secretary Mark Rutte coming to Donald Trump's defense.
And when it comes to the Arctic, I think President Trump is right. Other leaders in NATO are right. We need to defend the Arctic.
Everyone looking for an off-ramp to this crisis. Donald Trump posting on social media he won't impose tariffs now on European nations, reaching a deal, he says, with NATO. We have formed the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland and, in fact, the entire Arctic region. The solution will be a great one for the United States of America and all NATO nations.
It's the ultimate long-term deal. And I think it puts everybody in a really good position, especially as it pertains to security and minerals and everything else.
Trump doesn't say if the U.S. will own Greenland, and no one knows what this deal means. But after being pushed to the brink, a sigh of relief.
The deal here is that the United States can build up our military forces on Greenland, and there's a 1951 agreement between the United States and Denmark that prohibits it and permits it and welcomes it. That might be the off-ramp.
So from the brink of a potential military invasion to a possible trade war with Europe, some say Trump may have miscalculated. Others say there's now a future security deal in the Arctic that reassures this president. Joy Malvin, CTV News, Washington.
TikTok will be able to keep running its offices in Canada for now after the federal court set aside an order for the social media company to wind down its operations. The federal government told TikTok to close its offices in Canada back in 2024. It cited national security concerns surrounding TikTok's Chinese parent company. But it did not block access to the app for users. TikTok appealed the decision and a judge overturned the order today, sending it back for another government review. TikTok says it welcomes the move and looks forward to working with the industry minister. Coming up on Bell Let's Talk Day, we speak to parents who aim to turn a tragedy into helping others dealing with mental health issues.
Tomorrow on Your Morning Saskatchewan, the Trews are coming to Regina and Saskatoon. We sit down with the band's frontmen for details as they continue their Canadian tour right here in Saskatchewan.
All right, we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to the weather, so we'll get right to it. First of all, the good news is that the winds are starting to calm down out there. Just about an hour ago, we were seeing those wind gusts up to about close to 70. Currently, the winds are just over 30, gusting up to about 40. So winds are certainly coming down. We should hopefully start to see those blowing snow advisories maybe lift later into this evening. But of course, keep an eye on Environment and Climate Change Canada to get all the up-to-date information when it comes to any of the advisories, watches, or warnings. Minus 15 is what we're sitting at in Regina with a wind chill of minus 27, and that's just the start as we take a look at what's to come with these warnings right across the province. So again, the yellow indicates a moderate level of impact when it comes to warnings. More so localized, and we won't see those extreme cold warnings lasting for a large amount of time. So essentially in this yellow area, we're seeing wind chill values anywhere between minus 45 to minus 50, but only expected overnight tonight. And then we'll see those colder temperatures start to moderate just a little bit as we head into tomorrow. As far as the rest of the orange, extreme cold warnings, high level of impact, a more widespread area, and those wind chill warnings or wind chill values anywhere between minus 40 to 45 expected to last days. At the last report I just checked before coming on air, it's looking like 3 to 4 days we're going to be under these really cold temperatures. So something to keep in mind if you are wanting to know what's to come. My brother, I know, is not happy. He's been messaging me all day long. But in terms of active weather, the good news is There isn't much, so it's one or the other. We will see a lot of sunshine on the way as we head into the next few days. Mainly sunny conditions. Winds are going to get a little better as well, and it's just the extreme cold warnings that we're going to deal with. So I really am just going to skip through this. We'll see a little bit of cloud cover arriving on Friday morning, but again, we're expecting anywhere between sunny to mainly sunny conditions between now into the weekend, and I just want to speed through and get to your temperatures because that's what we want to talk about. Snow. Still a slight chance we'll see some trace amounts in southern Saskatchewan, up to 2 centimeters expected in Maple Creek, and really just trace amounts for the rest of the southern part of the province there. And then again, like I said, it's just the temperatures we're talking about. So further up north, areas like La Ronge, even in the La Loche area, could see wind chill values tonight into the minus 50s. Tomorrow, we're still going to see very cold temperatures, minus 30, with those wind chill values getting into the minus 40s. And that's essentially the story for the rest of the province as well. Minus 27 for Saskatoon tomorrow, mainly sunny. Minus 29 for North Battleford, a mix of sun and cloud, and minus 30 for Yorkton with a mix of sun and cloud. The southwest still seeing warmer temperatures, but still colder than the average. Minus 17 for Maple Creek, mostly cloudy. Minus 22 for Swift Current. Minus 24 for Moose Jaw. And the southeast, similar temperatures and still all seeing a mix of sun and cloud. As we take a look at Regina tonight, minus 27, winds up to about 45. Wind chill value in the minus 40s. Tomorrow, we're still going to be close to the minus 40 wind chill value. Minus 28 is the expected daytime high. By tomorrow night, though, we'll see a low of about minus 38, and the wind chill value right now is looking like we'll be seeing about minus 50. So that's a very cold day ahead, and that's expected to continue as we take a look at Friday. Sunny, calm winds, minus 28, low of minus 35. A daytime high on Saturday of minus 24, with the winds continuing to stay quite calm, mainly sunny. And then by the time we get into Sunday, we'll start to see a little bit of a break. Temperatures still colder than seasonal, and it's not until we get into the start of next week where we see mainly sunny conditions. Winds pick up slightly, but temperatures come back down into that seasonal range. The average daytime high for this time of year, minus 10 to minus 12, so we're still close to the seasonal range, and we'll stay that way as we head into about Wednesday, where we will see that temperature cool back down a little bit. By the time we are reaching the end of January into the beginning of February, we'll see those temperatures getting back above seasonal. But as of right now, it's a deep freeze heading into the next few days.
I think the big question everyone wants to ask is, what kind of chips should you eat on the weekend because it's so cold and you don't want to go outside?
I'm going to say salt and vinegar. What are you going to say?
Not that. Anything else but that. Thanks, Sabine. Well, the parents of Lincoln West, the 17-year-old who tragically took his own life in the summer of 2024, are honoring his memory through a foundation made in his name. Jacob Carr has more on how they're hoping that this foundation they created can help end the stigma that surrounds mental health.
Rick and Debbie West started the Lincoln's Life Mattered Foundation in October of 2024, 4 months after they lost their son Lincoln to suicide. The goal, putting an end to the stigma surrounding mental health.
Youth with their parents, parents with their children, making it more acceptable and common to talk about mental illness issues so that kids don't have to suffer in silence and they can reach out and get the help that they need.
Rick says the foundation has raised nearly $200,000 to date and has taken on a handful of other initiatives, such as starting the Healthy Minds, Healthy Schools program, which offers funding to schools to bring in mental health educators, resources, and programs. The Wests want to shift the mindset when it comes to mental health.
Our belief is that mental illness shouldn't be treated any different than a physical illness. Mental health needs to be treated just like dental health. If you have a toothache, you say to your parents, I have a toothache, I need to go to the dentist.
Their son Lincoln would have turned 19 on Tuesday. Debbie told CTV News that if she could have given him a birthday message, she would have said her and Rick are sorry, that their efforts to find him help were not enough in the end.
Even how it ended and the pain that we go through now. The 17 and a half years I had with him were amazing, and he was a wonderful boy. I wouldn't change any of it. I'm still the proudest mom on the planet of him, and that will never change.
The couple says there has been an outpouring of positivity and feedback since they started the foundation, even some parents coming up to them and saying, "You have saved my child's life." And as difficult as the West say it is to share Lincoln's story, they believe it's important in order to continue to help others.
The 17-year-old Lincoln would probably be upset with us for sharing his story, for using him as the poster child for youth mental health. But we also know that the 30-year-old Lincoln would be proud of us, and he would want us to do what we're doing.
Jacob Carr, CTV News, Regina.
Can Team Campbell bring the Scotties title back to Saskatchewan for the first time in 15 years? Meet the team after the break. On Friday, all eyes of the curling community will be on Mississauga with the start of the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. Saskatchewan will be represented by Jolene Campbell's rink from the Highland Curling Club. As Donovan Mace tells us, it might be the first time they've been there as a team, but 3 of the 4 players have experience at the national event.
It has been 15 years since Saskatchewan last won the Scotties Tournament of Hearts.
Here they go. It has busted for them to the button.
But Jolene Campbell, who was an alternate, remembers it well.
Seeing what huge difference, even just one experience makes at a Scotties.
And now she is looking to win it as a skip.
And she is your 2026 Saskatchewan provincial champion.
We have quite a bit of experience, on this team. Like Robin and I and Rachel have all been there before, so we kind of have that in common with them.
The Highland rink representing Saskatchewan at this year's Scotties is full of experience.
Makes the double. Robin Silvernagel.
Jolene Campbell's 6th Scotties and 2nd as a skip, while 3rd Robin Silvernagel will wear the green for a 4th time.
This team, we've definitely put in a lot of work. We've, done the practicing. We've played a lot of games. We've worked a lot with our sports psych. I feel like we have every base covered, so I think this team has the potential to go all the way.
2nd Rachel Big Eagle has 2 previous appearances as an alternate.
My first time with fans, too. The first 2 were both COVID years. I haven't worn green since juniors, so that's been a few years for me, and yeah, it's just super exciting.
Now it's a different story for Dana Demmons. The lead has had several previous cracks at earning a berth to nationals, but 2026 will be her first Scotties appearance.
To be sliding over those hearts for the first time, definitely envisioned it a lot over the years, and so this year it feels very surreal.
When we started this season, we really had our eye on making noise at a national, not just going to provincials, not just competing at a provincial. What we talked about was competing at a Scotties and being a relevant team there.
Campbell's rink begins their tournament Saturday night when they take on the provincial champions from Nova Scotia, Team Stevens. Donovan May, CTV News, Regina.
WHL, a tough loss last night for the Regina Pats in overtime.
Top of the right circle, Hamilton still with it. Back to the blue line, Yellowwaga. Left slot, Varga, one-timer, score!
Calder Varga scored on a power play in OT to give Red Deer the 2-1 victory. Pat still got a point, but they now fall 2 points back of the Rebels for the final playoff spot in the East with a game in hand. Caden Brown scored the lone goal for the Pats, while Merrick Schlenker made 44 saves in a loss. Pats hit the ice again tonight in Edmonton. Still ahead, advocates look to end the stigma of schizophrenia.
All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at your rural forecast heading into tomorrow. So a lot more sunshine expected heading into tomorrow and to last at least a few days. Temperatures, though, we're back into that frigid deep freeze. Temperatures very cold compared to what our seasonal is, especially for this time of year. We're going to see areas like Melfort getting to -30. Many of the areas seeing wind chill values in the -40 to -45 range, and that is expected to continue for parts of the province for the next few days. Hudson Bay -28. -31 for Wynyard, -24 for Kindersley, -28 for Lloydminster and Spiritwood, and -27 for Watrous and Outlook. Meadow Lake, mainly sunny and -29. Closer to the southern border, temperatures a little warmer in the southwest. There a little more cloud cover from Maple Creek at -17, -18, and mostly cloudy for East End Cypress. Meanwhile, the southeast, -28, mix of sun and cloud for Carlisle, -29 for Broadview, and -30 for Kenora. If we take a closer look at leader, where internet speeds up to 1 gig are available through Sask. Minus 20 is the expected daytime high tomorrow with a mix of sun and cloud. The wind chill sitting at about minus 29 for the daytime high. Into the evening, expect a low of about minus 36 with a wind chill of minus 42.
Yorkton's Bring to Life Creative Counseling was one of the organizations which received support from the Bell Let's Talk initiative. Bring to Life is located at the Sign Building on Broadway Avenue, but their true strength lies outside of its office walls. They offer text, video, and phone counseling, as well as on-the-go mobile counseling. This means they often travel more than 100 kilometers to provide for people who are looking for mental health counseling. The Let's Talk funding will go towards that mobile unit to ensure they can continue supporting those living in rural communities and lower-income households. Advocates in Saskatchewan say Bell Let's Talk Day is especially important for people living with schizophrenia, a condition still surrounded by stigma. Carla Shinkaruk has more.
And without my family, I would be devastated.
It was that support that helped Kim Pratt with her diagnosis of bipolar disorder type 2. Access to the right help is key. That's why Pratt now shares her lived experience as a presenter with the Schizophrenia Society of Saskatchewan, speaking openly about being diagnosed at age 29.
Let's think about being out of control with your mind, and you can't control it, and you know it. It's not fun. You know, not being able to control your depression, it's not fun.
Schizophrenia Society presenters travel across the province speaking to students and community groups. Advocates say reaching young people can help identify mental illness early.
Grade 7 and 8, grade 9 through 12, colleges, universities, community groups, businesses, presentations for addiction audiences, hospitals, First Nations programs.
All of this aimed at supporting those who may be struggling.
Our goals are to reduce the stigma associated with major mental illness and promote treatment and recovery in the community and let people know it's okay to talk about your mental health.
Harmon has been with the Schizophrenia Society of Saskatchewan Saskatoon branch since it started in 1999 and has seen it grow. While some funding comes from government, the organization relies on community fundraisers to continue its work.
Put on Singing with the Stars for 3 years in a row. We've raised over $350,000 over the past 3 years.
He tells us listening without judgment and learning the facts about mental illness can be the first step towards breaking down barriers.
It is wellness. It's not illness. You know, I don't suffer from mental illness. I live with it. And I love through it, and I view life through its lens.
Pratt holds multiple degrees and is familiar with several languages. She says life with mental illness can still be full and rewarding thanks to treatment, support, and understanding. Carla Shinkaruk, CTV News, Saskatoon.
In Saskatoon, a creation of an accommodation tax came up at City Hall yesterday, but the city is having an issue with its own version of the tax. Keenan Sorkon has more on how it works and the problems implementing it.
Some Saskatoon hotels voluntarily charge a destination marketing fee to fund tourism initiatives. This 4% fee added to a hotel stay is the biggest source of revenue for tourism in Saskatoon. It became the target of the Federal Competition Bureau, who sees this as a form of drip pricing, a hidden cost consumers aren't made aware of, like a parking fee or resort fee that shows up on the bill later.
It affects Saskatchewan harder than other parts of the country because we don't have that mandatory tax.
Marriott caught the attention of the Competition Bureau when it made changes to its booking system. This prohibited the hotel giant from collecting voluntary fees until the changes are made, ultimately affecting 6 hotels in Saskatoon, which would contribute plenty of money to tourism, but can no longer charge the marketing fee.
And of course, the impacts are quite large given Marriott's dominance in our market and in others.
Saskatchewan is currently the only province in Canada that does not have an accommodation tax. The city is lobbying the province to change that, so a mandatory hotel tax can help pay for the downtown event and entertainment district and make every hotel contribute.
There's no question in the administration's position, Saskatchewan should follow the model of other provinces and either have a provincial tax or enable municipalities to levy that surcharge.
But opponents say giving municipalities another way to charge residents is a slippery slope.
The challenges have been that when
a mandatory tax is imposed, it really becomes unbridled.
Changes to the Cities Act would need to be made to allow for an accommodation tax. The province announced some changes less than 2 months ago to the act and says an accommodation tax was ultimately abandoned during this review cycle based on the feedback it received. Keenan Sorakan, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Farm market boards, canola street price up $6 to $591.62 per ton, while the futures price was up $10.30 to $646.50. That might be $636 since it was $10. Anyway, amber durum wheat, $274.92 per ton. Red spring wheat is down 54 cents to $254.66 per ton. As for feed barley, $213.59 per ton. Flax is $626.04 per ton. Your market boards, the TSX up 101 points, the Dow Jones up by 588 points. The Canadian dollar, it went up a little, 200ths of a cent to 72.31 cents U.S. Commodity, gold up big again by $68.31. West Texas Intermediate crude was up 26 cents, while Western Canadian Select crude was up 16 cents. Did that change gas in Regina? No, it commonly is found at most, if not all places, for $1.25.9 cents per liter.
The markets tanked on Tuesday with the threats against Greenland. So when the U.S. president took military action off the table earlier today, investors were relieved. Then early this afternoon, Trump posted a deal had been made on Greenland, and so he wouldn't impose tariffs on European countries. Immediately, the North American market spiked. The TSX gaining over 100 points, the S&P 500 also shooting up. Reuters is reporting Cenovus is considering selling around $3 billion worth of assets to offset debt. The oil and gas company bought Meg Energy last year for $3 billion. It's estimated the company borrowed $2.7 billion to do that. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
Coming up after the newscast tonight, we have the Masked Singer at 7 o'clock, followed by Fear Factor, House of Fear. Sounds like a video game. House of Fear.
Yeah, actually.
Shark Tank, 9 o'clock, followed by Shifting Gears at 10 and E-Talk at 10:30.
So I didn't get any. We have now just resorted to guessing what's going to be coming on tonight.
I said The Voice, I meant Masked Singer.
Oh, is that what okay.
The Songwriters Hall of Fame has named its 2026 inductees, including its youngest ever new member.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem, it's me.
Are we surprised that Taylor Swift made the list? Organizers say Taylor Swift showcases iconic songs and their writers who have profoundly impacted the lives of billions of listeners worldwide. Other honorees include Alanis Morissette, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons of Kiss, Kenny Loggins. The Songwriters Hall of Fame rules say an artist can qualify 20 years after their first commercial release of a song. Taylor Swift's debut single, Tim McGraw, came out, believe it or not, in 2006, 20 years ago. Feels like it was just yesterday.
No, it doesn't.
Manitoba livestock auctioneer is making a bid to become a world champion.
£1, here we go. All right, let's have a sale. How much here?
36-year-old Brennan Jack, usually selling cattle, but this June at the World Livestock Auctioneer Championships in South Dakota, he'll be selling his own skills. The man from Verdun, Manitoba, has been going once, going twice. Well, this would actually be his 11th trip to the competition. But this time he's going to win it. Jax is a regular top 10 finisher, but yeah, he's hoping this is the year that he claims the title.
Have you ever tried to do that?
Auctioneer? No, but you always go to dinners and you see people that auctioneer.
I'm so fascinated by how they do that. Apparently there's like an auctioneer school.
How do you think they judge them? Like, do they actually judge like auctioneers when they're thinking about it?
Maybe like what's clear.
Should he win? He's got a clear voice, everybody go. This guy's got a clear voice. What about this clear voice over there? No, 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 yes, yes, no.